Hi everyone, welcome to my podcast by Jean-Michel Victor. I thought I'll share it from you from one of my most favorite places, the mountains. I'm here on top of Table Mountain. I've just climbed Platteklip Gorge. Look at that absolutely beautiful view. It's not too windy up here, so I hope the audio is absolutely fine. So, yeah, this is where my journey of change actually started as a person. I used to do a lot of exercise and training for triathlon in gyms and all of that. And when really things started to change for me was when I started trail running, hiking, mountain running, up and down mountains. It taught me resilience. It taught me so much about myself, being alone in the mountains, climbing the mountains. You can never beat a mountain. You can push and push and push. It's always going to be there. It's going to be there even when you're gone. It's still going to be there. It was there before you. And this is how I got to really go through all my childhood traumas, my childhood insecurities, is being on the mountains. Because when you spend so much time on the mountains, you start realizing who you are. It's a very spiritual place. And being alone, you're in your thoughts. You keep thinking, and while you're climbing, you have time to think and process all of those life experiences, especially climbing up Platteklip and the climbing Table Mountain and running up. You start processing and you use those emotions as fuel to get to the top. And that's what I did. I used to suffer with anxiety, real bad anxiety. From the age of 16 till about 22, 23. I can tell you, I'll share one of my stories with you. Sorry, I was about 20, 22, almost 23, and the wind picks up. I do apologize. This is the mountains, and I remember having an anxiety attack or sitting down watching a movie with my wife, that she literally had to went into a panic attack to rush me to hospital. And this is in my 20s, early 20s. Rushed me to hospital. When I got to hospital, they did all the tests and everything. I told them I'm dying. I'm getting a heart attack. And they laughed. Not laughed. They were like, "Okay, don't worry. You having a panic attack." I'm like, "A panic attack? Anxiety." And I remember going through trying to figure out why. At that time I couldn't afford therapy. It was too expensive. Medicaid didn't pay for it back then, and I had to figure out a way. I went more into research why I have anxiety. Let's give us quick medication and you'll be fine. You'll be okay. But I really had to get to the core of why. And getting out in the mountains, spending time in the mountains, doing some research on where anxiety starts from childhood, from certain events that happen in your life that you haven't dealt with. And then I started tapping in saying, whoa, the anxiety is coming from suppressed emotions that I never dealt with as a child. And my wife was pregnant at the time. It was about years later, 23, 24 years. She was pregnant. And I needed to deal with these emotions. I didn't want my kids growing up with this. And I literally had to go through a process of reprogramming myself. But while doing that process, I had to deal with the situation and all the traumas. And by trail running and mountain running, I literally went through each trauma one by one. I would start running, and if a thought comes up that I feel that I'm going to get anxiety, I would process that thought and cry and let it out in the mountain alone. Process it. And through years of processing, the healing started. I used to be so angry with the world, angry with everyone. Anger was everything. And I realized I had to let go, I had to forgive myself, for being so angry with everyone. But yet I had to process what happened and accept what happened and never allow that to happen again. Now that I'm older, as a young child and teenager, you don't have much control, but as an adult, you have control. And that's the main key. You need to take back control as an adult from what happened to you in the past. You're a big person now. And you're not that child anymore. You need to look at this life as a second chance. You need to forgive yourself. Forgiveness is such an important key in life and to progress. Forgive the old self, and you start with the new. You're still the same person, but your behavior changes, and you start looking at life differently when you go through these healing processes. With me, it was the mountains. As you can see, this beautiful view. This literally helped me cope without medication. Nature. It's so important. It's beautiful. It's quiet up here. Well, it is quiet until I get here. and meeting surrounding people that do the mountains for the same cause. You start a little community and you start communicating and you start making new friends. You start changing your surroundings with optimistic and positive people. And that really did change my life, you know. It's really, really amazing what can happen in such a short time when you allow it to happen. You know, embrace who you were, accept who you were, accept everything about yourself. And once you accept it, you can start working on it. And a good friend of mine, Marco, told me, it's called the default setting. And I can feel sometimes when I go into the default setting, I go back to the way I was, and I can quickly acknowledge it, process it, and let it not happen. Change my perspective. Instead of losing my temper and getting violent, process the emotion. Don't give it control. You take control of that emotion. Say, okay, think about how you're going to react. And that was my main thing. I always used to react with a violent, angry reaction. A lot of the time, I always thought people were trying to break me down when they were trying to help me. I didn't want to listen to them. And the older I got, I have kids, and now I see the same pattern when your kids listen to you. So you just learn to think differently. As the older you get, the more wise you get. But you need to be open for people to not criticize you, give you advice, from their life's perspective, and understand where they're coming from. And you can take in the advice that they give you and use it, all the good bits from that, whatever they've told you, But anxiety is one of the things of the past for me, I've learned to process it. And by training up and running up here and being alone here, it's a lot to think about when you're alone. It's just you, all by yourself. So, I used to struggle with anxiety a lot, but I don't give it power anymore because I figure out where it comes from. And it comes from a place of fear, of unknown, and I don't allow it to control me anymore. When it comes up, I accept it and move on and think of the good things, think of the process that I've gone through in my life, of self-love and discovery, and really where life's journey has taken me to where I'm now. If you told me 15 years ago I'll be sitting up here having a podcast on Table Mountain, I'll be laughing at you. I'll tell you, you are absolutely crazy. I'll be running like a mad thing up and down Lions Head. I will be doing a podcast. I will be doing so much and sharing my story. I would have told you you're absolutely mad. I would have told you I'm becoming a comedian because my life is a joke. That's where I was. My life's a joke. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Now it's not a joke. I've taken life seriously. I've dealt with those traumas. I don't use humor to hide my insecurities and my flaws and my hurt inside. I talk about it and I take it quite seriously. I used humor for too long. Look, I'm still a funny guy, but hey, I'm just being funny in other places. I hope you guys enjoyed this little podcast from the type of the wind is blowing and my mouth's getting dry. So I really hope you guys enjoyed it. And if there's any, you want to get on the mountains, you want to chat, guys, those who know me very well, those who don't know me, and you want to know about my experiences in life and how I cope with anxiety, with Tourette syndrome, ADHD, dyslexia. But you know what? Those are things that people put names on. I'm just me, and I love me, and I love everyone else. I love all of you. Love is the way. I've got nothing to prove anymore. I've only got to give and share my story. I hope you guys enjoy it from the top here of Table Mountain with this amazing view, and have a wonderful day, everyone. Be lekker.